Alright, I wasn't planning on reviewing another movie for the next few days, but I got an email at 2 a.m. and it is from independent director Matt Kistner, I believe his last name is pronounced that way, I don't know. But I got an email from him, and he basically sent me kind of like press release information and a link to a screener, like review copy of his new feature-length film, his third feature-length film, called Shivers Down Your Spine. And as soon as I got this, I was very, very excited because it meant that someone out there it means someone out there has taken the time to watch my reviews, or at least taken time to, you know, like find someone that's relatively independent to you know, review this independent film and to possibly even help promote it. So this movie, there's not a lot of buzz going on about it right now because I'm pretty sure the DVD and Blu-ray of it don't come out until like later this month. But it's basically an anthology horror film made up of, well, 10 segments if you include the wraparound segment. And you may think that's a lot, but ABCs of Death does have 26. But the movie is made up of... The movie's made up of basically 9 actual story segments and a wraparound segment. And the wraparound segment is about a guy who gets a genie lamp, and the genie grants him 3 wishes. And one of his wishes is to have stories told to him. And then the 9 segments that you see are stories that the genie tells him. Excuse me. Now, this movie sounds right up my alley, and I also saw that in the email he sent me when I did a bit of research that this film is a very, very low budget. According to the information he sent me, it took 4 years to make this film in its entirety, and the entire budget of the film was about $750. Now, I've seen a few very low budget movies with a budget of about $1,000, $2,000, and a few of them have been pretty good. Examples being Video Violence and The Basement and Cannibal Campout. And then there's stuff that's kind of not so good, like Violent Shit. So let's just hope that this movie doesn't end up becoming Violent Shit, but considering the budget is lower than it was on Violent Shit, I think they're going to focus more on everything else than the gore. So I'm hoping for at least an entertaining, like kind of horror comedy maybe. But the only way I'm going to find out if it's any good is if I sit back and I watch the damn thing. So I'm going to go do that right now. So, starting off, we have our wraparound segment, which has our main character, Jeff, and he's in his apartment looking in his fridge and freezer for something to eat. He gets a microwave pizza out, microwaves it, and then suddenly it turns into a genie lamp in the microwave, and he takes it out, and he releases the genie, and basically a few more things happen. He wishes for the genie to make him pizza, and a few other pretty funny things happen, actually. And then we eventually get on to him wishing to have stories told to him. And I should also mention that the genie is topless throughout most of the scene she's in, which is awesome. Party on. The wraparound segment, and all in all, the wraparound segment was really, really good. And I'd probably have to give it a 4 out of 5. That's right, we're going back to the old, where I review basically each segment of the film, and then I kind of add it up and give a total, and then I do a bit of math and I figure out what that would equal to in a out of 5 and out of 10 rating. So then we get the first segment of the film called Deadbolt. It's about a girl who's home alone on Halloween night, and she gets and there's someone who keeps like ringing the doorbell, and it's a genuinely creepy segment, and it's got some nice music and pretty cool effects for it being such a low budget film, and it's very, very well shot. And I'd probably have to give that one a 4 out of 5. The second segment, which is called Convention Girl, and it has to do with a guy who is called in the middle of the night, and I guess they're like staying at a hotel because this guy and his friend are staying at a hotel because they're going to a horror convention, I guess, and they. And the guy calls his friend and he's like, I need you to come over here right now. And he's like, what, did you kill a hooker? Well, he indeed did kill a hooker, and he needs help from his friend to dispose of the body. This one's another 4 out of 5. I really, really dug this one, and this might be one of the better segments in the film. We get on to the third segment, which is one of my favorites. I think it might be my favorite. It's called Birthday Dinner, and it's about a couple who are celebrating their daughter's birthday without her because she is a bit brat and they grounded her from being invited to her own birthday party. It eventually gets to the point where things get really creepy and morbid, and I really, really dig the turn it takes, and I think is very reminiscent of something like the horror comedy Parents from 1989. It's really, really good segment, and I absolutely loved it and loved the humor in it. That one I gave a 5 out of 5. Okay, now we get on to the fourth segment. Alright. The fourth segment is about sorority girls who use like a spirit board. I'm going to call it a spirit board because it's not a Ouija board. Or I guess it's a whispering board because the segment is called Whispering Board. But the segment has to do with a group of sorority girls playing with a spirit board, contacting one of the girls' dead boyfriends, and it's kind of like the slasher film from the late 80s, Sorority House Massacre 2, where they play with the Ouija board in the house, and then the killer from the first movie comes back as a ghost. That movie was pretty fun. All in all, that was another really, really solid segment. Probably a 4.5 out of 5. Next, we're on to the fifth segment, which is called I Dream of a Jenny, and Jenny spelled like D-J-I-N-N-I, so as in Jin, as in genie, and it's actually about the genie, the genie main character who's telling the stories tells a story about something that happened to her, and she basically ends up having to grant wishes to this guy who's like really pathetic, and he mooches off the government. And this one isn't really a horror segment as much as it is just a kind of like comedy segment, maybe a little bit of a dark comedy or like a twisted comedy, but I'm not going to spoil anything with this segment. This segment was still really, really entertaining. Not my favorite, and it's definitely one of the ones I didn't really like that much. I'd probably have to give it a 3 out of 5. Now, the sixth segment is a crime noir kind of short, and honestly, at first, I wasn't really digging it. Like I have in my notes that I have written that I couldn't really get into it, but honestly, after sitting on it for a while, I kind of like it, and it has to do with just this, like, I guess kind of like mobster who picks up this girl who's walking on the side of the road when it's raining, and he stops at a hotel and she disappears, and then you kind of find out what's going on ever so slowly. And for that one, that's another 3 out of 5. I still like that one. It's definitely nothing too great. The seventh segment is called A Bad Heart. And it's about a serial killer who strikes on Valentine's Day, much like, I believe it's Harry Warden in My Bloody Valentine. I mean, it's my favorite slasher film. I should know the guy's name. I believe it's Harry Warden. If it's not, it's Henry Warden. But I'm pretty sure it's Harry. Yeah, I think it's Harry Warden. It's kind of like that, and it's also got a kind of cool twist to it that I honestly didn't see coming at all. A few of these actually have pretty cool kind of twists to them that again, most of them I didn't see coming. That one I'd probably have to give it another 4 out of 5. Again, it's another solid one. I really, really dig it. Nothing. It's not the best segment in the film. It's not one of the best either, but it's still really entertaining. Next, we have the 8th segment, which, and honestly, is the one I hated the most, and I couldn't get into it at all. It's a tragedy segment, and in the email that I got, the director did tell me that there is a segment of the film that's like a kind of Romeo-Juliet, kind of like Shakespearean tragedy segment in the film, and I didn't know when it was going to come. I didn't know which segment it was, so I was just like waiting, and I expected, oh, it's probably going to be last. And it was second to last, and it feels really out of place for a film that has like very kind of quirky, it has a very kind of quirky, dark sense of humor, as well as it's referencing like a lot of 80s slasher films and a lot of other like it seems out of place for a film that most of the segments, that out of the 10 segments they give you, 8 of them are, well, I guess you could maybe say 9 out of the 10 are horror segments. It's kind of, weird to see the segment feels really, really out of place for the film, but I mean, it's not a bad segment. It's not badly made. I just couldn't get into it. So, personally, I'd have to give it a 1 out of 5. Now, we get on to the 9th segment of the movie. The 9th segment is probably my favorite segment of the movie. It is called A Christmas Horror Story, and it is a Santa Claus slasher short film in the style of 80s like B movies, complete with a VHS filter that is so well done to the point that I honestly think they might have just transferred the movie onto a VHS tape. They might have just transferred it onto a VHS tape and then transferred it back, because that's how well it's done. I don't think it's just like some digital effect. It looks really, really good. Not, well, the effect does. It's also kind of like inspired by EC horror comics, which I can definitely see, because the film they're screening, because they're at a movie theater in this segment, and the film they're screening is called "And All Through the House," and that was the segment of Tales from the Crypt. That was the episode of Tales from the Crypt that had the serial killer Santa in it. That's one of my all-time favorite episodes of Tales from the Crypt. And that segment I'd give a 5 out of 5. Now, I gotta get on to actually reviewing the film. As I said before, the film has a budget of about $750, somewhere around there, dollars. And it might be obvious, but the acting really isn't the greatest. Everyone either does a entertainingly bad performance, or they do an okay performance. There's nothing really super groundbreaking or amazing here. The writing is very, very funny. It's not like witty humor. It's not like, Edgar Wright levels of like really hilarious writing, but it's still really, really entertaining and really funny. If you're into kind of like cheesy 80s, kind of lowbrow, maybe a little bit gross out humor. The practical effects in this movie, what there is of practical effects, are pretty good considering the low budget. There's a lot of CG effects, and the CG effects look really, really cheap, but I honestly think this is another one of those films where the CG effects, I honestly think, make the movie a lot more entertaining. And, there is CG blood in this film. Luckily, there's not a lot of it, because if there was a lot of it, I would be a bit more upset. But because this is a low-budget film, I can't, even though I absolutely hate the usage of CG blood or gore, I have to let it pass here because it is probably a budgetary thing. The characters are all, kind of flat, but honestly, it's a bunch of short films. I don't think it really matters that much. Everything from a technical standpoint, like lighting and camera work, are really, really solid. Like, the camera work is a lot better than I expected it to be. The sound mix, however, the sound mix is a little bit, messy here and there. It's not too great, but again, it might have been a thing with the budget, it might have been a thing with the set. I don't know, I'm not the acoustics person, I'm not a music person. So I'm not gonna, give that any flack either. The music in this film is really nice, although it feels like I've heard all the songs before. It's very kind of 80s horror and or just like horror in general sounding music. But all in all, it's a pretty good movie and definitely well made considering the low budget of the film. On the gore meter from 1 to 10, 1 being something like Nosferatu, and 10 being something like Brain Dead, the Shivers Down Your Spine is probably about a 3.5, maybe a 4. It really isn't that bad, at all, really. Like at least to me. I mean, I'm a very desensitized person. I own over 400, last time I checked it was 449 horror films, and I've seen all of them, so it's kind of hard for me to give my proper opinion on how gory a film is when I honestly could watch something like Pieces and say that movie isn't that gory. Alright, now it's time to do a bit of math.
So, 4, that's 12, 17, 21.5,
It's like a 35.5 out of 50, which is like a 3 point... Well, it's a 3.5, so it's around a 7 or 8 is where I would put it out of 10, and out of 5 it's around a 3.5, maybe 4. So yeah. If you couldn't tell, because the overall ratings added up, added together, is that number, I'm dying here. But because it's added up, it is, still a good number. It still sits at around 7 or 8 on IMDb, as well as a 3 or 4 out of 5. Overall, is it the best anthology film of the last 5 years? Is it the best anthology film of the last 2 years? Is it the best anthology film of the last couple years? Yeah, definitely. Definitely one of the better anthology films of the last, I would say maybe year and a half, maybe 2 years. It's definitely, I haven't seen a ton of them come out recently, but this one is definitely better than VHS Viral, and I would honestly say it's on par with Night Terrors, which is one that I believe came out this year. It came out this year on DVD and in festivals, and it was made in 2014. So it's definitely one of the better anthology films from the last year or so. From the last 5 years, I honestly can't say that this film is better than VHS 2. But it's on par with the first VHS, and I would definitely recommend you go check it out. You can get it off of the official Dead Lantern website, directly from the maker of the film, and it is $10 for the DVD without shipping, with free shipping, and it is $25 for the, I think it's like 20 or 25 for the Blu-ray, again with free shipping. So yeah, it's really, really a deal, and you're getting 2 hours of just absolute fun, and it's just a really fun, funny movie, and you're getting 10 segments, and it's over 2 hours of content. It is well worth the asking price, and I will most definitely be picking up at least the DVD of it once I get back into my job, and after my broken foot, is healed. So, yeah. But that's it for now, and I'm gonna have to edit a lot of this crap out because I know I stumbled at least a little bit. But anyway, guys, that's it for now. I'm gonna sign off and go downstairs and stuff. So anyway, guys, if you liked the video, like my channel, be sure to like this video, favorite it, whatever you want, and maybe subscribe perhaps. I would really appreciate that. And check the links in the description below. There are links to things like my Tumblr, Twitter, all that, Facebook, all that is in the description below.
Hey there, kids. Do you want to get cool stuff in the mail like this? Or this? Or even this? Well, then subscribe to Horror Block today. Have you ever wanted to do cool cosplays like this? Or even this? Well, now you can. Subscribe to Moonchild Cosplay on YouTube, and you can see all her tutorials on how to do cool stuff like this. Do you want to get cool horror and exploitation film t-shirts like this? Or this? Or this? Well, then go to RottenCotton.com to check out all of their premium t-shirts.